Okay, immediately I'm putting out the call for someone to try and convince me why cultural appropriation is a bad thing. Throwing that out there right off the hop. Why is it a negative thing? Why is it detrimental to the cultures that people are adopting from, or taking from, or stealing from, or whatever? How is this disruptive? How is it bad? Please tell me. Obviously, you're going to hear this side of things first, or this argument first, or whatever. So this would be in the form of a rebuttal to what I'm saying right now. If you didn't watch this or listen to this, don't bother trying to educate me on whatever, unless you're refuting my points and trying to make me see something. I would genuinely, not just for the sake of argument, but I would genuinely like for someone to educate me on this, because it's this weird thing for me where I'm like, I just don't get it. Like, there's something that I'm just not getting, or maybe I never will get because I just don't agree. It could be that simple. We're talking about cultural appropriation, and I have a hard time understanding why it is this horrible thing. Cultural appropriation, I'm only going to give you one definition of it, and here it is. So, simply, sometimes it's titled cultural misappropriation, adoption of an element or elements of one culture by members of another culture. That's it. The adoption of elements from one culture to another, basically. So, I need to immediately talk about taking elements of someone's culture for financial gain, because that is the only time, right now anyway, and maybe during this discussion with myself, I'll figure out, like, hey, cultural appropriation really is bad. I'm an idiot. Why didn't I see this before? Which is one of the reasons I'm having this conversation. It's not just a convincing piece for people to come to my side of things. It's that I'm trying to work something out here. So, if I am stealing something for financial gain, depending on what that is, I would say overwhelmingly, the majority of time, I have a problem with that. I've talked before about when people like steal art and what that means to steal art, and how you can like do it in the right way and do it in the wrong way. And it's like, by changing the context of someone else's thing and making it new art, like Richard Prince, to me that is like a respectable way to steal art. You know, local people making prints of someone else's photographs and selling them in their restaurants, which is a specific reference, that is not a good way to steal art. Like, they're not taking credit and saying that it's theirs, but they're still making money off of something that they have no permission to use and sell. So, like I said, the majority of time I believe that stealing something for financial gain is not good at all. I would not support that. So, when it comes to cultural appropriation, now, if I had a store and I sold stuff in that store, and I was just selling products from a bunch of different cultures, I would not call that cultural appropriation. I don't think that I'm stealing someone's culture for financial gain. I think that if I was pretending to be part of someone else's culture because it was advantageous to me to be seen as that way, be like, oh, like, this certain culture, I don't even want to use specific examples, but like, this certain culture has a very specific style or whatever, and I am purposely trying to adopt that style and making it look like I am part of that culture when I'm not, because I will make more money by doing that. Whether it be, oh, I'm like a pop artist, and if I was a pop artist from this culture or country or whatever, then I would sell more versus if I am one that I really am. Or if it's like a product, if it's just like, or like me as a person in branding, and it was like it would be a better brand if I was actually from this other country or culture, so I'm going to pretend to be that way. I don't support that at all. But I don't understand that this is stemming, let me of course go off the rails here. This is stemming from a post I saw today that unfortunately Vice magazine posted, and usually the posts that I see from them anyway, I really enjoy the reporting and whatever, the things that they talk about. And I'm not saying that, I don't know, it was written as very informative and not necessarily heavy-handed one way or the other, but it still seemed like it was supportive, I guess. Someone was talking about how, or more than one person in the article, and I skimmed the article. I didn't read all of it because it was painful to read even, but the title attracted me because it was the fact that there are people of color that are vegans that are saying that other vegan people that are Caucasian, white vegan people have been appropriating their vegan recipes and saying like it's cultural appropriation because they're vegan and they have a platform and because they're white people listen to them and they've been like, trying to, they've been using our recipes in their like branding and saying, and it's just like, how can you appropriate food like that? Like these people are not saying, I am Jamaican and this vegan Jamaican recipe is from it's very authentic and I have this personal history with it. That's not what was being presented in the article. It was just like someone who was maybe an quote-unquote influencer or whatever being like, hey, I'm a vegan and I really like this vegan dish. I like to cook it a lot. Well, you can't eat food from another culture now and you can't tell people that you eat that food? Like, that's where this whole thing's coming from. And it just reignites this whole thing for me because I don't get it. I don't get it. People, get upset about hair a lot and being like, oh, white people can't wear dreads. Why not? This is what I don't understand. Why not? Something can be very important to a culture. So, in typical John fashion, I didn't do all this crazy research and come up with, but this is just off of my natural research, which would have been experience in these arguments, things that I have read, things that I have watched, people that I've talked to in person, etc., of just like, there are some cultures that maybe things like hair or things like tattooing or whatever are sacred or very important or have like a ritualistic thing, have a spiritual connection, whatever. But there are people in that culture that don't have that connection to that thing, and yet they still participate in whatever that thing is, whether it be doing their hair a certain way or getting certain styles of tattoos. They don't have a connection with the origins of it, but they feel they feel like it's something that they can utilize or that they can exercise or whatever. It's just something that maybe comes with the culture, even though they've abandoned other parts of the culture or the roots of those things. I'm not just saying that because that is a reality, therefore any culture could do that. Even without that middle step of like people in the culture are separating whatever the thing is, the hairstyle or whatever it is, from the importance of it. Even if that thing wasn't there, that middle step, I still don't understand why other cultures couldn't just be like, hey, that looks really cool and I would like to have that hairstyle. What is wrong with that? That is what I don't understand. That person would only be at fault if they are pretending to be something they're not. And I don't think that just by having a hairstyle, you are pretending to be something you're not. If other things are going on, and they are explicitly advertising themselves as someone they're not, or being a part of a culture that they're not, for whatever it doesn't have to be financial gain, but just the personal gain that it would get them, then yes, that would be a problem. But that's like with anything. That's like a stolen identity, not just of a whole culture or something, but it's like of a person being like, oh yeah, I'm John Smith. No, I'm not. But if I pretend I am John Smith, then that's going to get me A, B, or C. Like, so I'll do that. No, that's not cool. Of course it's not. But that's like saying, what if a culture has a very strong connection to the color red? What if they invented or discovered the red pigment? Okay? They were the originators of the pigment red. I can't wear red because that color is so significant to them and they were the originators of it that can't be shared, that can't be something that I can use. First of all, I could maybe identify with that thing and celebrate that thing, despite the fact that those aren't my origins. Whatever the significance of the color red, or if it's, again, what if it's dreadlocks, or what if it's a certain tattoo style, or whatever it is, a certain kind of wardrobe or dress. What if I did identify with that thing on a level, and I respected it, and I followed that philosophy or whatever else? because I'm not from that thing, I can't choose to celebrate it that way. I think that's dumb. Also, what if I just completely separate it and be like, no, it's just a cool color. I love the color red. It's pretty sick. Like, and I have my own associations with it. I can't do that. Like, there's no way that I can see it being unacceptable in this circumstance of being just like, I just like to wear it. But again, the caveat is like, oh, well, yes, of course, the color red. I always have the color red because I am from the whatever people, and that's my culture and my heritage, and like it really means something. And if you're pretending to do that for some type of personal gain, that would be wrong. But just simply by saying like, yeah, I really love the way my hair looks like this. I love the way that everyone's hair looks. Like, I just really like it. So that's the way I choose to do my hair. I don't understand the issue with it. When it comes to cultural appropriation on this very basic level of people, like, I don't understand the issue. I'm citing some specific examples that generally have to do with design, generally have to do with style. Even the food thing, like, I don't get it unless you open up a shop and say authentic Jamaican food, and you are not Jamaican, and you are, you know what I mean? Like, but even then, like, there's workarounds. Like, you don't have to be Jamaican to own a Jamaican restaurant to appreciate Jamaican food. If you say you are Jamaican, that's going to be a problem. But you could just be the owner of, or the manager or whatever, and you have people that know what they're doing cook that food in an authentic way, whatever that means. Like, as long as you are not saying, yes, this is my heritage and whatever, you'd be like, yo, I love Jamaican food, and I hired some cooks that know what they're doing, and this is the OG stuff. Like, that wouldn't be a problem for me. Like, anyway, but most of the stuff I'm talking about is relating to the way that somebody looks, the way they want to present themselves. Again, design, art, how that relates to wardrobe and expression of self visually. Those are the things that like get my gears running, like grinding, I guess. That grind my gears immediately, because I don't understand. Like, people can take things and have their own attachments to them. I don't know, it'd be like people wearing a cross even though they're not Christian. I mean, and that symbol carries more weight than what people think. But what if they are not associated with anything, or they don't want to be associated with anything that cross might symbolize for somebody, and they just like, I just like the look of crosses. You would have to acknowledge that you carry a certain baggage, maybe, or like, it's like wearing a swastika. It's like that wasn't the origin of that symbol. Like Nazis and Hitler and whatever, taking this symbol and using it for his purposes, popularizing it like that. That's what I think of immediately when I see it. I do know that there's very much the opposite association that was there prior to him using it. I'm aware of that, but it's not the first thing I think of. So obviously someone might be having to acknowledge and wear that baggage of being like, man, if I wear this, I'm going to have to explain it all the time, or someone's going to punch me in the face, or someone's going to think that I'm, a Nazi sympathizer or whatever, right? Like, that's something that they'd have to be aware of. But I mean, if they choose, like, that's the thing, it's not appropriation to me anyway. By wearing something, I don't think you automatically say, I am that thing. Like, it shouldn't be that way. If these, like, it's I don't know. I don't know where else to go with it. To me, it's such a basic thing. It feels like I'm missing something so basic and right in front of me. Like the fact that there's so many people that think this is a problem, it makes me feel a little bit like I must be blind. Like, it's more than just the amount of people, because I mean, there's plenty of things where the majority of people feel a certain way, and I'm like, no, that's dumb. Like, that's just not, like, I see the arguments, I understand them, and I know why I don't agree with them. But this is something where I genuinely, there's a part of me that does not understand, and I feel like I'm missing something, because I don't see how that holds that culture back. Again, part of that reasoning is because there's people that could associate with that culture in an authentic way that choose not to, and they still participate in expressing themselves that way, and that's not a problem. And people that visibly might not appear to be from that culture could express themselves in a more authentic way then people that look like they're in that culture or genuinely come from that culture, I mean, like, express it in a way where they actually believe in the philosophy of whatever that thing was or is, and they would get, flack seems like too mild. They would get, like, hated for it and shamed for it. And I'm just like, man, I just don't get it. I don't understand. Because one of the arguments is that, like, no, you don't understand when you appropriate someone's culture. And this is why I led with this definition of appropriation is just adopting something from someone's culture into is part of yours. And that's the thing. What does culture mean too? Like, well, I'm talking about the individual. I'm not talking about like a culture like of people stealing someone else's cultural thing and calling it theirs. That, depending on the example, might change my opinion. But I'm talking about the individual person being like, I really like Japanese culture, so I want to learn the language, I want to dress like that, I really appreciate it and respect it and know the history and like all this stuff, but they don't go as far as saying, I am Japanese, like, or I am using this for financial gain. It's just like an interest of mine that I really love, that culture just speaks to me. The visuals, the patterns, the color choices, the language is beautiful, whatever it is, right? There's a respectful way to do things. And I don't understand how you can look at someone and immediately, in these cases I'm thinking of, like I said, the most popular example I can think of is white people wearing dreadlocks. And I don't understand these arguments of how that one person, or a lot of those people, choosing to wear a certain hairstyle that is rooted in someone else's culture somehow is a detriment to that culture that the hairstyle came from. Again, I feel like I'm missing something here. I don't know how to explain all the reasons why it feels like it, but it feels like there's some fundamental thing that just went way over my head early on, and I've never been able to find it. Because I've had discussions with people, and usually when I think I'm right about something, like I can figure, like there's reasons, there's logic and rationale, and there's evidence, and I can point to these evidence, like. And I mean, I've provided you with, I guess, my argument, and in the course of the conversation, I haven't really changed my mind, and I can't think of what it does that is wrong. Yet for some reason, I don't know. Like I said, I've had these conversations with people in person where they're very adamant that this is the wrong thing, it's no good, and I remember in those conversations not changing my position and not seeing their side of things, even after letting it sit and having a very good, productive conversation. Productive in the way that, I mean, it wasn't unhealthy or heated and got out of hand. That I'm still at the point where again, there's plenty of things where I can point to and be like, yeah, that just doesn't make sense. It hasn't made sense forever. I may never change my mind on it. I haven't had an argument make sense to, like, whatever. This is one of those things where for some reason I feel like I'm missing something. I don't know. So a little bit of a different conversation today. I don't really feel like I learned anything at all, and it was more of like a call to be like, please educate me. And maybe I won't do a follow-up conversation, I don't think, unless there's a similar topic where I can just plug in maybe what I've learned. If someone has educated me and I feel like I've gotten something out of that conversation or that response, because I don't want to be, I'm not being willfully ignorant. I am maybe just straight up ignorant and need some education. See you another time.